Greetings, educators and parents. Welcome to Lesson 6, Teach Your Child How to Read. First, I need you to go to the internet and type in Open Court Phonics Program, Original Wygotsky. Then click on that link. Scroll down until you see the blue book, which is a workbook, the teacher's manual, and the gold book, which is also a workbook. If you click on this link, the blue book, the gold book, all of the small readers are embedded in each lesson, so you don't have to go to each individual book. Today, for our Lesson 6, I want you to click on Lesson 7. In Lesson 7, with the original Open Court Phonics program, you're going to scroll down until you see those words, Lesson 7, and the skills that are to be taught. So now we're introducing the long I sound or long I sound words. At the top, it tells you the different ways you can spell the long I sound that they will focus on in this particular lesson. So I says I by itself, sometimes says I. Y at the end of a word sometimes says I, and make sure you emphasize the word sometimes and not always. And IE sometimes says I. So for the words in this lesson that your child will see in the reader as well as in the workbook pages, yes, IE will always say I. But as the child continues to read more complex words, IE has many sounds. Sometimes IE can say E, and the I is silent. So that's why I say, just to avoid confusion later in the program, please make sure you say sometimes. Okay, so just like in our Lesson 5, you would have the child do word work. And if you're not familiar with that, please go back and listen to Lesson 5. And, but again, some of the words will have the long I sound in it. So let's talk about why at the end of a word sometimes saying I or making the long I sound. Here is a way that you can have your child remember that. When a Y is at the end of a word and there are no other vowels in that word, the Y says out loud, I am all by myself. Now again, this is only when the Y is at the end of a word and there are no other vowels in that word. So this Y in the word fry says I, fry. Just for your knowledge, not for the child or the student's knowledge just yet, a Y at the end of a word with other vowels in it makes the long E sound. And that Y is saying, you know, I'm not alone. We vowels are here together, E. And then, of course, a Y at the beginning of a word makes the Y sound, Y. Sometimes the Y has a vowel sound if it's somewhere in the word. But right now, the lesson just focuses on Y at the end of a word where there are no other vowels. So the Y says I, and IE says I, and I by itself, like in the word I or I'll, says I. And the original Open Court Phonics introduces variations of words using apostrophe, contractions, things like that. So you teach that in tandem with everything else as well. All right, so please enjoy Lesson 6.